Hello students, I hope all of you are doing well and staying home. I'm Meza and I'll be taking your political science. The chapter that I'm going to take today is chapter 3, End of Era of One-Party Dominance. In this chapter, what we're going to learn and try to understand is why we opted for a parliamentary democracy, the methods of voting which we have adopted, which have changed over time, the dominance of the Congress in the first 3 general elections, the nature of their dominance, the factors which are responsible for their dominance, and the rising importance of some of the other political party besides the Congress political party. So as I've already mentioned, today we are going to start with era of one-party dominance. It's on page number 47 of your textbook. Those who are tuned in and at home, if you like, you can turn to page number 47 and refer to your textbook. Okay, so as all of us are aware, we got independence from the British rule in 1947. Even before independence, our political leaders, our leaders of India, they were committed to the ideal of democracy. So when India got independence from the British rule, it was obvious for them to opt for parliamentary democracy. When they adopted parliamentary democracy, all the leaders were not in favor of it. Some of the leaders were reluctant in the sense that they were reluctant of giving the right to vote for every individual, every adult citizens of India. So they were reluctant. That was the reason why they were reluctant. And what happened was that the first general election, which was conducted in 1952, fortunately or unfortunately, proved the people who were reluctant wrong, in the sense that in the first general election, political observers and analysts, they admitted that the election was conducted in a free and fair and a true democratic spirit. That is what they have admitted, and it was quite an achievement for India, and it was, unfortunately, the people who were reluctant had to eat their own words. So that was one thing that India achieved. Now comes they have already decided for the parliament to opt for parliamentary democracy. So they have to conduct the election. So the leaders of our country had a gigantic work in front of them because they have to work out the electoral role. Working out the electoral role from the grassroots level. They have given the right to vote for every adult, which is universal adult franchise. So now all adults have the right to vote. According to that, they have to prepare the electoral role. So that was one gigantic work that they have to do. And then after working out the electoral role, the first general election in India was held in 1952. 1952. You can note it down if you like. The first general election, 1952. And in this election, the first and the second election, ballot boxes were used for the election for conducting the election. But in these 2 elections, the first and the second general election, multiple ballot boxes were used for all the polling stations. Here, what I mean to say is that multiple in the sense as many as if, for example, if in a constituency there are 4 candidates contesting for the election, they had to arrange four ballot boxes for all the polling stations of that constituency. That was the system which was followed in the first and the second general election. And on the voting day, the polling officer issues a ballot paper to the voters and then advise the voters to insert the paper in the ballot box of their favor. On the ballot box, the candidate's picture and symbol are pasted on the ballot box. So according to that, they can vote by inserting the ballot paper. That was the system that was followed. What happened in the second general election was that they found some defects of this system. There was tampering of ballot boxes, so there was a slight change in the third general election. In the third general election, what they did was that they stopped using multiple ballot boxes. Only one ballot box was used for one polling station. That means now, before they used to have, like, if there was 4 candidates, they had 4 ballot boxes for all the polling stations. But now, only one ballot box was used from the third general election. And here, the voters were issued a paper where all the candidates' name and their symbols are printed to the voters, and the voters had to put a stamp on the picture or the symbol of the candidate of their favor and insert it in the ballot box. So that system, we followed that system for some time, and came the use of EVM, electronic voting machine. The first electronic voting machine was introduced in 16 legislative assemblies in November 1998. That was the first time that EVM was used, and looking at the convenience of using electronic voting machines, by 2004 general election, EVMs were used throughout India. And till date, we are using EVMs. Now, many of you may not have the right to vote now. As of your class and your age, you are supposed to get the right to vote only after you reach 18 years of age. So maybe some of you have already voted, but maybe many of you have not got the right to vote. So many of you might have seen an electronic voting machine, but many of you may not have seen also. So how does an EVM work? An EVM, an electronic voting machine, has blue buttons at the side of the names and symbols of all the candidates. So when you go in a polling to vote using an EVM, you have to go and press the blue button according to your favor. If you are going to vote for a particular candidate, you have to press the button which is next to the picture of that particular candidate. And when you press the button, a light glows and a beep can be heard. From there, you can know that your vote has been casted. So that is how an EVM works, and that is how we vote now. And after using the electronic voting machine, they found out that it was more convenient for people to vote also, as well as for counting also, in the sense that counting became easier also. So till date, we are using the electronic voting machine for any kind of election in India. Moving on to the next subheading of our topic, our lesson, the Congress dominance in the first 3 general elections. The Congress, as all of you are aware by now, is one of the oldest political party in India. It was founded in 1885. The Congress was founded in the Congress Party. I'll write it down on the board. The Congress founded in 1885. And this is one of the oldest political party in India. Of course, we have a parliamentary democracy, so there are other political parties which exist side by side. Some of the major national political parties are the Muslim League, which was founded in 1906. Then another national party, Hindu Mahasabha, which was founded in 1916. The Communist Party of India, (1925). There are other political parties also, but these are some of the major national political parties that exist side by side along with the Congress political party during 1947 to 1967. So during the first general election, which was conducted in 1952, what happened was that the Congress had a thumping majority. The Congress had a thumping majority, and they won. I'll rub the board and write something. The Congress had a thumping majority. The Congress political party got in 1952, that is the first general election, they got 364 seats out of 489. So out of 489 Lok Sabha seats, the Congress got 364. The CPI, the Communist Party of India, they got 16 seats out of the 49 seats they contested. And the Bharatiya Jana Sangh, which is also a national party, they got three seats. And besides that, there are other political independent parties which contested, which got some seats. But this is the highlight. The Congress got 364 seats out of 489 Lok Sabha seats. And then when we look at the status of the states in India, most of the states in India, the Congress formed its government, except in the state like Travancore, Cochin. The Congress formed the government, but they did not have the absolute majority. They formed a coalition government. So that was one state that they formed a coalition government. In Madras and Orissa, the Congress formed the government, but with the support of some independent candidates. Then in PEPSU, that is Patiala and East Bengal States Union, the Akali Dal, they got only 7 seats less than the Congress political party. But finally, the Congress could form the government. That was the result of the first general election. In the second general election, which was held in 1957, again here, the Congress absolutely dominated the Lok Sabha, in the sense that they got 371 seats out of 494 seats in the Lok Sabha. 371 seats out of 494 seats in the Lok Sabha. So the CPI again, this time also they stood second, and they got 27 seats. The Jana Sangh, that is the Bharatiya Jana Sangh, they got 4 seats. This is how the Congress dominated the central government. In the state assemblies, when we look at the status of the state assemblies in the second general election, more than 65% of the winning candidates belong to the Congress party. That was the case in 1957. But in the case of Kerala, the Communist Party of India had a good success. Why do we say a good success? Because they got 60 seats out of 126 seats, and with the help of 5 independent candidates, they could form the government in 1957. So that was the extraordinary thing that happened in India in 1957 in Kerala. Then in the third general election that was held in 1962, here again, the Congress got 361 seats out of 494 seats. 361 seats out of 494 seats. The CPI again they stood second again with 27 seats, and then a newly formed party known as the Swatantra Party, they got 18 seats. The Bharatiya Jana Sangh got 14 seats. And when we look at the status of the state after this, in the 1962 general election, we see a considerable decline of the influence of the Congress in states like Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So slowly, the dominance of the Congress have declined. First of all, in the second general election in Kerala, the CPI formed the government. Now, in the third general election, we see the influence of Congress have declined in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So that was how it was functioning. But when we look at this number, we see that the Congress have got 364 seats out of 489 seats in the first general election. But the percentage of vote that they got, it never reached 50%. All these 3 general elections. In 1952, they could get only 45%. They could get only 45% of the vote share. 45% of the vote share. You should keep this in mind. It did not reach 50%. Then in the second general election, they got 47.8% of the vote share. In the third general election, they got 44.7% of the vote share. This is the vote share. That means the total population of India, the percentage out of 100, only 45% voted for the Congress in 1952. Only 47.8% voted for the Congress in 1957. Then in 1962, only 44.7% voted for the Congress in the general election. But again, when we look at the seat share, that they got in Lok Sabha, in 1952, they got approximately 74% of the seat share in the Lok Sabha. In 1957, they got 75% of the seat share, approximately. And in 1962, they got 73% of the seat share in Lok Sabha. So this was the pattern of the Congress dominance in the political scene in the first, second, and the third general election. So what about the nature of the Congress dominance? Is it democratic or is it undemocratic? That is that question arises. Because they have dominated so much in the first, second, and third general election, the political analysts and the observers term this period as one-party dominance system or the Congress system. But when we look at the dominance of the Congress in India, we can say that it is purely democratic because there were other political parties who were contesting for the election. It's just that they were not good enough. They were not good enough that they could not get more seats in the Lok Sabha. They could not get more votes for them to win the election. That was the problem. Otherwise, there were other political parties like the CPI, the Muslim League, the Hindu Mahasabha, the Jana Sangh. All these political parties were functioning side to side with the Congress party. So we see that the dominance of the Congress was purely in the democratic spirit. Some examples where one-party system exists in some other countries, some examples can be taken, like in communist countries like China, Cuba. In this communist country, there is one-party dominant system. Here, in these countries, the constitution itself allows only one party to function. They do not allow other political parties to function besides the ruling political party. So there is only one party in China, Cuba, and so on. Then in some dictator countries like Myanmar, Vietnam, all these countries, the dictator, it's not the constitution here. It is the dictator, the ruler, who do not allow any other political parties to function besides his or her own political party. So those countries, we cannot say they are democratic. They are undemocratic, whereas the Congress in India, even though they were ruling consecutively, winning elections after elections, they were elected through the spirit of democracy. So that is the nature of the Congress dominance. The Congress dominance. Now, moving on to the next point, that is the factors responsible for the dominance of the Congress party, is that the first factor we can say is the historical legacy. Why do we say historical legacy? Because the leaders of the Congress like Gandhi, Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, Patel, all of them, they were pioneers of our freedom struggle. They were pioneers in the sense that they were the forerunners during the freedom struggle. And when we got independence from the British rule, after getting independence from the British rule, they were still members of Congress party, and then people, maybe they do not know them personally, but they have heard about them, they know about their personalities. So in that way, the Congress could get more votes, could win elections after elections because of their personality, because of their works during the freedom struggle. So that is one factor which have helped the Congress to dominate the political scene. Then the next factor can be the Congress is an all India organization. An all India organization in the sense that Congress being the oldest political party in India, they have their organizational structure in almost all the regions as well as districts and even small towns in India. So in almost all the states, in almost all the small states in India, laymen knew about the Congress party. So that is also another factor which have contributed massively in the dominance of their in the dominance of the general election in the first 3 general elections. Then the next point is a wide variety of social groups within its framework. A wide variety. When we say a wide variety, we're talking about the people from different backgrounds, people from different castes, people from different religions, people with different political, economic, social, cultural interests. they are members of the Congress Party. They're not confined to a particular religion or caste or a region or a district or a town. The party structure is all over India, covering almost all the people in India. Therefore, that is also another factor which has helped the Congress to dominate the political scene. The last but not the least is the electoral system, or the simple majority system, or the first past the post system, which we have already learned in class 11. So under the first past the post system, the candidate with the highest number of votes is declared the winner under this system. So the electoral system that we follow for election of Lok Sabha members and even in state legislative assembly, we use the simple majority or the first past the post system. And because of this also, the Congress could dominate the political scene in the first 3 general elections. So here we see the factors which are responsible for the Congress dominance is that the first one is the historical factor, the second one is an all India organization, the third one is a wide variety of social groups within its framework, and the last one is the electoral system, which is the simple majority system or the first past the post system. All these factors have contributed to the dominance of the Congress in the first 3 general elections. Next point is there were some other political parties which became quite prominent during this period. From 1947 to 1967, elections were held in 1952, but we got independence in 1947. So these political parties were functioning side by side. So the Congress were dominant from 1947 to 1967, okay, the period of their dominance. So during this period, some other political parties in the region and in the state also became quite prominent, and these parties are the Justice Party in Madras, which was founded in 1917, the Dravida Kazhagam Party in 1944, the Akali Dal in 1920, the Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference in 1931. This Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference, it was founded before the independence of India, and during these days, only Muslims were members of the Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference. But after India got independence and under the influence of our national leaders, this Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference, they changed their name to National Conference and even opened their doors for non-Muslims to become member of this political party. So these were some of the political parties which became prominent, which became important during this period. Then the last point that we are going to discuss today is a communist government in Kerala for the first time in the world. A communist elected government for the first time in the world happened in India, and that was in Kerala in 1957. In 1957, what happened was that in Kerala, general election 1957, the Communist Party of India, I've already mentioned earlier also, they got 60 seats out of 126 seats, and out of that 126 seats, they got 60 seats, and with the help of 5 independent candidates, they could form the government. So in 1957, the first communist government, which was democratically elected, was in India, that is in Kerala. And then, unfortunately, this particular party could rule only for 2 years. Why? Because in 1959, the central government toppled this party by implementing Article 356 of the Constitution, which is the President's rule. Article 356, the President's rule, we have already discussed in class 11, so I'll not go into details. So, using Article 356 of the Constitution, they toppled the toppled the government in Kerala, and then after the term of the president's rule ended, midterm election was held, and finally, ultimately, the Congress came back to power. So, in Kerala, the communist government was under the leadership of EMS Namboridappa. So with that, we come to the end of our lesson. But before winding up, I would like to recap some of the points that we have learned today. The first point that we have learned is that why we opted for a parliamentary democracy. We were the leaders of India. The leaders of India were committed to the ideal of democracy. Therefore, it was obvious for them to adopt the parliamentary democracy after they achieved independence. The method, after opting for parliamentary democracy, the method of voting system which have changed over time, we have discussed that. And the methods that we use in the first and the second general election is multiple ballot boxes. And from the third general election, single ballot boxes, single ballot box. From 1998, for the first time, EVMs were used in 16 assembly elections. And by 2004, EVMs, electronic voting machines, were used throughout India for any kind of election. The next point that we have discussed is the dominance of the Congress in the first three general elections, where in the first general election, the Congress got 364 seats out of 489 seats. In the second general election, the Congress got 371 seats out of 494 seats. In 1962, the third general election, they got 361 seats out of 494 seats. Those things we learned. Then the nature of the Congress dominance, which we have already discussed, that is, the nature of the Congress dominance is in the spirit of democracy. Then the next point that we have discussed is the factors responsible for the dominance of the Congress in the political scene in the first, second, and third general election, and the rising importance of some of the other parties in India, that is the rise of Justice Party, Dravida Kazhagam Party, Akali Dal, Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference, which changed their name into National Conference. And the first democratically elected communist government in the world, that is in Kerala in 1957, under the leadership of EMS Namboridappa. Thank you. I hope you have understood.